It's time for Money Monday, sponsored by Heffron Tillotson. And today's topic, giving to charities. And it's not just about money, but also your time or things that you own. However, you may not get the tax break you're used to getting. So joining us with some advice are Kim Fleming, Chartered Financial Analyst, Chairman, and Chief Executive Officer, as well as Brad Colvin, Certified Financial Planner and Financial Advisor. And thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Brad, I want to start with you because people are used to getting a deduction for giving to charities. With tax reform, that may not be the case anymore, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think there's two important things to realize when it gives to why do people give to charity, okay? First, charities need your support. Last year, U.S. charities received over $400 billion in donations. And interestingly enough, about 80% of those donations came from individuals. That's one of the most important things to know, is that your donations are needed and they're making an impact. Secondly, as you said, tax reform has changed the game. Now it's a lot harder to actually take a tax deduction from your donations. In fact, I have a handful of clients who they've been donating the same way for over a decade, and in the old systems, they used to see a tax break. And today, as you mentioned, unfortunately, they might not.
Now they have to rethink how they may be doing it, and we'll talk to you in a moment a little bit more about that. Kim, I know you're so proud of Heffron Tillotson and the charitable work the organization does. It seems to me some companies sort of set an example for the employees. Is that correct?
Well, I think that's true. The company, we had our 70th anniversary last year, and my grandfather, Art Heffron, was very charitable. He was involved with Rotary and Kiwanis. My dad, Bill Tillotson, was the same. So we've had that history of having people giving back. And it feels like almost every week we have people out doing something out in the community that's both hands-on and also giving financially.
How do you decide? I mean, we're actually privileged in Pittsburgh to have so many different local groups that do great work. How do you decide who to give to, who to give your money to, who to give your time to?
Well, I think what's important is you need to make sure the organization you give to is sound, that they're doing good work, that it is having the impact that you want it to. But we really have a broad range, and some of it has been driven by, a lot of it has actually been driven by where our people are involved. We had an employee, Neil Alexander, a number of years ago who developed ALS. We were very active with ALS and with his foundation, Live Like Lou. So that things like that will drive where we spend our time and our money.
Brad, we talked about how the deduction may not be there, but there also might be other ways to sort of maximize the giving, right? And sometimes it isn't always giving that's just financial. It could be giving assets or something, right?
Well, usually when most people first think about donating to charities, they might naturally think to write a check or give cash. But as we mentioned earlier with some of the changes to the tax code, you might have to think a little bit smarter with what you give. Look beyond your checkbook. Look at what other financial assets you own. For example, with some of our clients, we're advising them to consider giving appreciated assets like stocks, mutual funds, real estate, or really anything that they've owned for a really long time. Consider giving these assets instead of selling them and paying the capital gains tax themselves.
There are ways to make it work even without the deduction.
Correct.
Yeah. Hey, Kim, as far as the advice you give to clients about giving, what have you learned over the years? What do you tell them?
Well, one thing I'd like to tell them, and it came from a client of mine, is give while you're alive. So, one of my clients years ago said, we don't really care where our assets go when we're not here. We want to give with a warm hand. So the benefit, just the personal benefit and the way that people feel when they have the ability to give and see the difference really makes a difference.
Great note to end on. Thank you both so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks to Heffron Tillotson for sponsoring today's Money Monday segment.